Good evening, friends. Welcome to this webinar on social justice. Before welcoming everyone, let me inform you that today being the birth anniversary day of Bharat Ratna Karpuri Thakur, the veteran leader for social justice, everyone from Bihar, who initiated reservation policy for the backward classes and other reserved groups in Bihar. So we pay our tributes to that great leader and respected chairperson of this program, respected Asiri Raya, and our distinguished speakers who are going to share their views on the topic of the today, social justice in India, what we got and what we did not. So when we speak of social justice in India, we must speak with honesty, not celebration alone, but critical reflection. Social justice in our country is not a finished achievement. It is an unfinished promise. We got a constitution that boldly speaks of equality, liberty, and fraternity. We got the abolition of untouchability in law. We got reservation policies for scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, and other backward classes, a historic intervention that opened the doors of education and public employment to millions who were kept out for centuries. We got the Mandal movement, which brought the OBCs into the mainstream. We got political awareness, representation, and a language of rights that the oppressor could finally speak in. These gains were not gifts. They were won through struggle, sacrifice, and the relentless efforts of social justice movements inspired by leaders like Periyar, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, and carried forward by the Dravidian tradition. But we must ask the most uncomfortable question: what did we not get? We did not get economic justice. Wealth and land remain concentrated in a few hands, while the majority struggle for survival. Privatization and contractual employment have weakened the reservation policy and pushed the social justice out of the workplace. We did not get complete OBC justice. There is still no nationwide caste census. The most backward among the backward continue to be invisible. Constitutional protections enjoyed by the scheduled caste tribes are denied to the backward classes despite similar social discrimination. We did not get equality in education. Public education is weakening. Elite institutions remain inaccessible, and merit is used as a mask to hide privilege. The digital divide has created a new norms of exclusion. We did not get social dignity. Caste discrimination continues in homes, streets, workplaces, and even temples. Atrocities persist. Manual scavenging survives despite laws. Harder killings remind us that caste still governs social life. So this is the paradoxical situation that haunts us today when we are celebrating the 75th independence of our great country. So our leader decided to have a webinar to discuss on this very important topic, what we are having today, what we have achieved and what we have not achieved, so that the nation will know where we stand and we have to fight for these rights which we have got through our constitution. So we have today invited certain speakers who are eminent in their fields, and on social justice movement their role is significant. Among them, we have chosen few of them because of the paucity of time. And the first speaker will be R. Ilaya Kumar. He is a senior research fellow and the organizer of the Students' Federation of Dravidians. He collaborates with the students across India to disseminate Periyar's thoughts and promote the Dravidian movement. Additionally, he is researching the anti-caste movements initiated by the Periyar and writes both popular and academic articles. So we are first requesting Dr. Ilaya Kumar to share his views on this important topic. Then follows the speech by Madam K.Veeramani, thereafter Professor Arvind Kumar, and final valedictory speech by our leader. So now I hand over the mic to Ilaya Kumar to share his views. Mr. Ilaya Kumar, please.
Thank you so much, sir, for having me on today's webinar. I would like to begin from giving my respect to our leader, self-respectful Dr. K.Veeramani, sir. And then, as usual, like Karunanidhi sir is one of the person who is supporting us from the beginning as well. When I'm starting from my masters, then we started Periyar Study Circle from that moment. And we have Comrade Prince, Dr. Arvind Kumar, who is my guide as well, and Kyle and other speakers, and as well as the participants from different universities who has joined in that. My greetings to all of you. Very warm good evening to all of you. So I'll be looking into the historical movement as well as the contemporary issues, what we face in the life as a beginning from access to education as a student, as well as settling down with the government as well. I'll look upon 2-3 major things. So we all know that very well, the movement, Dravidian movement, it begins with a demanding for access to education. It begins from everywhere. Wherever the restrictions has been put down by the Brahminical Hindu religion in the name of caste, there has been a lot of barriers which never allowed us to access to anything, whether it is education, wealth, employment opportunity, or to even lead a decent life. So these all has been curtailed. Till today, we can see that the lot of high courts and Supreme Courts still noting that they have given their judgment with reference of Manusmriti, which has been systematically curtailed our opportunity for anything. Like as I said, as we all know that the non-Brahmin manifesto, which then exposed the Brahmin monopoly in the education as well as in employment opportunities. Our social justice movement, like we see from even before Periyar, there was a movement which was asking for our rights, that is known as Justice Party. Though Periyar been part of Congress, he supported that. And then within Congress party, he tried to establish a space for social justice, which eventually he failed. And then he started the self-respect movement. And now we have as here K.Veeramani, who is after Periyar and Maniamai, now he's taking up the leadership of the movement. Till today, now we have reached a level where we have access to education, where it is proportionally represented. Like we are demanding for a proportional representation across India. Now, the time of election is everywhere. The demand for caste census was going around, but we clearly stated that it is not limited to caste census, but whereas we need a proportional representation for the uh, Dravidians, which constitutes scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, other backward caste, and minority communities. We vehemently said that, openly said that minorities also included. We all are son of the soil, and we need our due share in that. So we have reached a certain level that constitutionally now we have a safeguard as well. But problem is that the continuing regime, it's been like now the third term BJP is ruling. Even prior to that as well, those who are in higher positions, which is like from if we are taking a university level, at the head of the department or director or the vice chancellor or controller of examination in that particular structure. If we take a judiciary, then same, it goes like a, no, from judges to chief justice. It is not merely a high court, but as well as in the Supreme Court. So the same structure reflects. These structural reflections become a major hurdle for our people, and that is why, because caste. So there comes the intervention of an anti-caste movement. So here, as a social justice movement, we achieved a level of access to education, even some of the level where we got access to wealth as well. We can get a support from the government itself to continue our studies. Now we have a Dravidian model government where the government gives all its efforts to ensure that student is not going to leave the school or college without completing their education. So now the present regime is so supportive in that way. We're looking into Tamil Nadu where our Chief Minister M.K. Stalin is supporting in all aspects. He's supporting. But where comes the issue is that the caste structure never get collapsed. So what is existing already there in the society, which is reflecting in all other institutions. So the hierarchy also keep on following. Like this my arguments are very clear that it is not limited to Tamil Nadu, or it is not 100% applicable to Tamil Nadu. But whereas we looking into across India, what we are looking like now we have a lot of hurdles when students getting into uh, primary education to higher education. There comes a new education policy. So the bottlenecks are very clear that entirely the university systems has been controlled by UGC. Now there is a proposal to maybe revoke that as well. Now it's not going to exist, but till now. And the nominated central government or the union government nominated governors are being appointed as a chancellors of any university. So anything happening within a university, it has been easily controlled by them. So they parallelly try to run a government which is against the federal structure, but still they easily implement the new education policy in the higher education level. Whereas in Tamil Nadu, we have our own state education policy. In Karnataka, they are trying to challenge it. In Telangana, they are trying to challenge. But still, how long it is? So there comes the Tamil Nadu Assembly has passed a resolution that a chief minister, elected chief minister, will be the chancellor. But whereas there comes the issue with the Supreme Court. So it is that from ground level, we try to mobilize people, we go for a protest, but whereas easily they will be sitting in the court and they will negotiate with the courts. And obviously, it is because of the Brahmin monopoly that they are not worried about our people. So it continues there. And universally, like they are bringing a universal entrance examinations. Like it is a single, they say that a single entrance examination for admission purpose. Now we have for undergraduate admission, we have CUT-UG as well as CUT-PG for masters. So they say that one exam is enough, but actually it is not. We have to, the application fees is every year increasing, like 50% to 200% it is increasing. Like then it was 700, now people have to, students are applying for 4 paper have to pay more than 2,000 rupees. Application fees becomes a burden. Applying becomes a problem because it is asking that Aadhaar card has to be connected with the application. So those who are having good internet access, those who are technically sound only can do that. How a 12th class student will do that? Technically, there is a no possibility for that as well. So they are filtering our students not after the entrance exam, but before the entrance examination only they are filtering our students. That is happening now. Whereas Tamil Nadu government tries to fill applications through the government nodal agencies, they are supporting the students. Like we have a NEET examination, we are having a training institutes by the Tamil Nadu government. Similarly, for CUT, UG, PG, we are also trying to support through like Student Federation of Dravidians. We have set up a admission help desk in various universities. We try to support them, but we have a very limited access. Maximum we can do for 50, 60 students. Tamil Nadu government will do for the Tamil Nadu students. But how about the, if we take 140 crore as a population, nearly 100 crore people are belong to the Dravidians. Think of them, how our future generations going to get education across different states in India. So our admission becomes a problem. Then once we enter into campus, the within campus the caste discrimination, how it has been challenged. There is the, now the UGC came up with the new guidelines, which again Brahmins are opposing that it is targeting the general category people. It is targeting Brahmins only. Like journalists like Anand Srinivasan openly says that we need a protection from false allegations. So they're saying that caste discrimination within campus is a false allegation. They're saying it is similar to when someone tried to take up the issue of sexual harassment. When they report it, where comes the victim blaming? Similarly, before even bringing the framework into action, Anand Srinivasan come up with the victim blaming, blaming the victims, those who have been victimized through caste. So there comes the another issue within once we got admission. Then all the fellowships are brought under the UGC NET examination. There previously, Rajiv Gandhi Fellowship for the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes were not under the entrance examination, NET examination. Now to secure any fellowship, NET examination has been made as a mandatory one. And then also the results being revised, results are not published. The national fellowship for other backward classes for timely, which has been not given to the scholars, that has been delayed. So structurally, once we take admission also, this problem persists. As a student movement, we try to take up all the issues in a grassroots level. In institute level, we try to address. Even for certain level, we approached our leader Asir as well. Like when Anna University tried to implement economically weaker section reservation in Tamil Nadu, we tried to challenge that. Then Asir gave a statement. Then the Tamil Nadu chief minister said that we will not implement economically weaker section in Tamil Nadu. But whereas the other issues in different states, they have implemented economically weaker section. Similarly, they have strictly follow the creamy layer. In Tamil Nadu, we have a opportunity for little bit opportunity. There is a breathing space because we don't consider the funds being generated by agriculture. So there we had a space. And similarly, our aided institute employees been not considered. But whereas the Social Justice Ministry, Government of India, they create that as a problem. Once we go for a job that systematically UPSC excluding the students, those who belongs to other backward caste, till they appear for prelims, mains, and interview, they never worried about that. But once they got a chance to become IAS or IPS officer, then they're taking up the card. You are not belongs to OBC category. You are coming under the creamy layer category, so you are not eligible for that job. So this there are these sort of set of issues are there, but at the same time, BJP is playing in a way where they are openly supporting the subcategorization. We can look at the case of Haryana. In the case of subcategorization, the Tamil Nadu government, specifically party-wise, we going means DMK, DK, and student movement as a student federation of Dravidians. We only openly supported the subcategorization, but whereas the other parts of the country had hesitated. So it takes a lot of time for them to understand. It takes time for us as well to convince them that why subcategorization needed, because within, so caste is not a one particular category is not existing anywhere. It is not homogeneous. Like it is not, a lot of diverse communities are there, and each has been discriminated. That we can see specifically within scheduled caste or within other backward caste, within tribes, there has been a hierarchy. So it is, as a social justice movement, it is our role. It is burden on our shoulder that we have to carry down, that we have to tell people that to openly support subcategorization, which means we have to address the socially, educationally excluded communities, those who have been not given a chance. We have to give them a chance by across India ensuring subcategorization. That is one. And second one is that the education and employment opportunity for minorities, now it is shrinking. We can see that the case of Mata Vaishno Devi College, which happened to be in Jammu, which is not in Kashmir. So where the students from Muslim community, they are trying to get admission, but it is happening through NEET only. It is through merit. Whatever the criteria have been set by them, it is merit only. But now the National Medical Commission is not ready to give a nodal approval for them. So that becomes a problem. And one more thing I want to, yes, sir, I noted. Just I'll take 1 more minute. The support for subcategorization comes from Periyar's quote. I'll just read that one. Just a minute. Yeah, it is that. சாதி புரட்சியினால்தான் சமுதாய பாதாளத்தில் இருந்த பஞ்சமர்கள் என்னும் தீண்டப்படாத மக்களாக இருந்தவர்கள் இன்று அவர்கள் மக்கள் எண்ணிக்கைக்கு ஏற்ற அளவில் அரசியல் பதவியியல் பெரும்படியான வாய்ப்பு கிடைத்தது என்பது மாத்திரமல்லாமல் சர்க்காரும் கொடுத்து தீர வேண்டிய அவசியத்திற்கு ஆளாக வேண்டியிருந்தது. அந்த பஞ்சம சமுதாயம் 100க்கு 16% உரிமை சட்டப்படி பெற்றிருந்தாலும் அந்த பஞ்சமர் என்பவர்களில் வாயில்லா பூச்சிகளான சக்கிலியர்கள் என்பவர்கள் பெரிதும் அடியோடு ஏமாற்றப்பட்டு விட்டார்கள். இவர்கள் எண்ணிக்கையில் பறையர்கள் என்பதை விட தாழ்ந்தவர்கள் அல்லர். So here comes the Periyar says that the proportional representation for any category comes from the caste revolution, where they are demanding by utilizing and showing their population. And similarly, there has been a chance that the lowest caste among the particular caste category, they are suffering. So it is as too necessary to take up this issue. Okay. And then the privatization is happening in all the sectors. All the government entities are being disinvested. So we must demand for a reservation in private sector as well, that Karunanidhi sir as well is taking across India, and we are also part of that all the movement. Thank you so much for Dravida Kalagam, Karunanidhi sir and other friends for having me on this panel. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ilaya, for your crisp but very depth-wide view on this present level in the aspect of education. You have touched very nicely the various problems that the students are facing, how difficult we got the reservation policy for in education when the Periyar fought in Tamil Nadu when Sambhagan Thalarajan case, communal GO was stopped by the Supreme Court as well as the High Court, and the first amendment was brought by the Congress government headed by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, as well as Dr. Ambedkar was the law minister. But that education reservation, even though the backward classes, scheduled castes and tribes, they got it. But over the years, how it has been diluted by the present establishment, and how the so-called UGC is crippling the onward march of the backward classes and scheduled castes and tribes to enter into the higher education. You have well explained, and also you have touched nicely about the subcategorization, which is very important, and finally about the reservation in private sector, which is a very important issue that has to be taken, and already our leader is on that job only. So the coming days we have to intensify our struggle. Once again, my thanks to Ilaya. Now let me come to the next speaker, our sister K.Veeramani. She is the director and assistant professor, Center for Women's Studies, St. Anne's College for Women, Hyderabad. She holds a UG degree in English Literature from Queen Mary's College, Chennai, and PG, MPhil, and is pursuing a doctorate in Gender Studies/Women's Studies at Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai. K.Veeramani is also the co-founder of Revamp, non-profit trust, which works on education and gender empowerment, coordinator of the All India Women's Studies Scholars Forum. Her research focuses on gender, women's movements, caste and cultural politics, has co-translated resolutions of Periyar and other works. So with this introduction, let me invite our sister K.Veeramani to share her views on this important topic. Welcome, K.Veeramani madam.
Thank you, sir. Good evening to all. First of all, I just want to convey I am very honored to be in this program along with Aya K.Veeramani, and I would like to begin my speech. Like respected members on the dais, policymakers, academicians, friends, and everyone gathered here. Before I begin, I want to say this very clearly and sincerely. I feel deeply privileged to be part of this program and this conversation. I also speak today as someone who has personally benefited from the fruits of self-respect movement. My education, my ability to speak freely and to question and to stand with the dignity in public spaces, these are not accidental. These are the results of long struggles and immense sacrifices made by people before us. I'm grateful for that legacy, and I'm grateful for the courage, the pain, and the commitment that built this movement. What I shared today comes from the gratitude, not from the distance. The self-respect movement, especially from Tamil Nadu, has given us a powerful language, a language to question the caste hierarchy, humiliation, and to insist that dignity can't depend on birth, obedience, or silence. Today, I not wish to speak about the movement as history alone. I want to speak about it as living process, something that must continue to evolve if it is to remain meaningful. From a regional movement to a national conversation, the self-respect movement emerged from a specific social and cultural context in Tamil Nadu, but the issues to address, caste, gender inequality, denial of dignity, are not limited to one state. They exist across India in different forms and intensities. So the question before is not whether the movement is relevant nationally. It is clear the question is, how do we build a bridge between Tamil Nadu and the rest of the India without losing the core of the movement? This can't happen through symbols alone. It requires working with people, understanding local realities, and engaging with social problems on the ground across regions, languages, and cultures. A movement grows stronger when it listens as much as it speaks. In the context of cultural, and it should be a non-negotiable thing when it comes to the social movement. At the same time, within Tamil Nadu itself, there are certain areas where the movement must refrain from and non-negotiable, especially at the cultural level. We still witness honor killings. We still hear what to say, it is again the culture is rebringing like using the name next to their name, like using the caste name next to their name. It is again the culture is re-evolving. These are not marginal issue. They directly challenge the identity of self-respect and also the self-respect movement. If dignity is selective, then self-respect becomes conditional. When it comes to education, pedagogy, and historical clarity, education has always been central to social reform, but education is not only about the access, it is also about content. There is growing concern about how history and society are being taught, particularly when pedagogy follows a single dominant culture narrative. There, I feel like we need to work on our pedagogy inside the state, and also there is a need to add more self-respect movement or like anti-caste movement content and gender sensitive pedagogy to our students, so that it will give us some sort of freedom of education or to upbring their language in the future. And gendered space and everyday power. Another area that demands honest reflection is gendered space. This gives beyond textbook discussion of sexism. It is about who feels safe and who is believed and who is silenced. Education institutions, public discourse, and media representation continue to reproduce gendered power, sometimes subtly and sometimes openly. When powerful individuals make casual remarks about sexual violence, or when allegations are dismissed because of influence or position, it sends a message not just to women, but to the society as a whole. A movement rooted in self-respect can't afford selective silence here. And when it comes to politics, support, and principled distance, the self-respect movement has historically had a close relationship with political power in Tamil Nadu, particularly with the DMK party, I can say. Hope I am speaking with my people so that I would like to clearly convey my points without hesitating or without taking back the step. This relationship has enabled many progressive changes. At the same time, it is important to say this gently but clearly, as a social movement must retain the capacity to question even those it borderly supports. Support doesn't mean unconditional agreement. For instance, practices like Jellikattu, which are actively encouraged by the DMK in the name of culture and identity, which raises important question. What is striking is not only the encouragement itself, but the absence of strong internal critique or condemnation from within the bordered self-respect discourse. When a movement that has historically questioned hierarchy and violence remains largely silent on such issues, it creates a moral pause. Raising these questions is not anti-movement, I guess. It is precisely how a movement protects its integrity. A principled distance from political power allows social justice to remain moral, not merely strategical. When we speak about revamping or renewing the self-respect movement, we must be very clear. This is not about rejecting its legacy. It is not about weakening its political relevance. It is about asking whether its idea are reaching every day, beyond platforms, beyond elections, beyond symbolic gestures. Are these ideas shaping homes, classrooms, media, and workplace? There are guiding cultural choice, not just political positions. A movement that refuses renewal risks becoming symbolic. A movement that renews itself remains alive. The self-respect movement gave us the courage to question power, hierarchy, and humiliation. That courage is still required, perhaps now more than ever. Taking the movement forward means holding firmly to its non-negotiable when opening its to new regions, new conversation, and new realities. Self-respect is not a complete achievement. It is a continuous practice, and that journey, I believe, is still unfolding. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sister Kyle, for your wonderful analysis of the self-respect movement, I can say. And you have said that one point is very clear, that questioning, that is the very fundamental principle on which the movement is still alive. The movement started because of that only, that questioning. And you want to have one thought which you have told about this movement that has to spread across the country. That is a very genuine aspiration of not only you, many of us, and we are also trying our best to broaden this base across the country in whatever forms we can do with our limited capabilities. We are also trying that, but that point is well taken. It will be, I think our leader will be hearing this and he will be able to address that. And well, one thing you have said about that, this movement is not about the access, but about the content. You were told about that. That is one thing. Then about the gender disgrace, you were told about that. That is happening. What is happening about the honor killings and other things. That is all a matter of concern, which our leader has been attacking regularly, and because of the pressure from our side and some other interested groups, the government also has come with a firm act to prevent that. But apart from the act, it is the mindset that has to be changed, which the movement from the beginning has been trying to address that issue. and about your that political lineage. That is a very, very, I think it is a very good thing that you have opened that. I think our leader will be able to address it, and I think everything is taken with caution only. But we look upon the greater enemy before us, so before dealing anything, because that is a very dangerous thing is happening across the country, which they want to infiltrate into the state. So we have to be doubly cautious. Unlike the days of Periyar, where we had very honest opposition people, whereas now we have only dishonest opposition groups. They will do anything for the sake of power. That groups have come, they want to infiltrate. So we have to make our steps very cautiously also. Here and there we know certain things, but from the movement side, I think we are also cautious about that. Our leader will be able to explain to that. Wonderful, Kyle, for your nice view. Now, next our next speaker will be my very good friend, Dr. Arvind Kumar. He is an assistant professor at the Center for the Study of Social Exclusion and Inclusive Policy, Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. He obtained a master's in politics and subsequently an MPhil and PhD from the American Studies Division, Jawaharlal Nehru University, Delhi. He has been an independent fellow at Sarai, Center for the Study of Developing Societies, Delhi, and a recipient of the Independent Doctoral Fellowship and Fellowship for Data Collection from Abroad under the aegis of the Indian Council of Social Science Research. His research interests include comparative politics, history and politics of discrimination and exclusion, and anti-race and anti-caste movements. His academic writings and reviews have appeared in South Asian History and Culture, South Asia, Journal of South Asian Studies, History and Sociology of South Asia, India Quarterly Mainstream Weekly, Economic and Political Weekly, Prathiman Samay Samaj Sanskriti, The Big Review, Biblio, a review of books, Wire, Print, and among others. He is a bilingual author and a political commentator who also participates as a panelist on major television channels. And I am very happy that he has joined today to share his views on this very important topic. Now I welcome Dr. Arvind Kumar to share his views. Dr. Arvind Kumar, please.
Okay, warm good evening. Jai Bhim, Jai Periyar, friends. I come from the land of Buddha. His ideas were spread across the globe, but unfortunately, that Buddha's land still lacks in a language called English. Vanakkam to you all, because I see more Dravidians than those from the land of so-called Aryans. I might not be a Dravidian linguistically, but by skin color I am, and in my thought process I am learning from the Dravidian model of social justice. And I'm very privileged to be part of this distinguished group where the living doyen of social justice, K.Veeramani sir, is also there, who is chairing this session. Let me congratulate Dravidians because I would be mostly speaking on Bihar model of social justice. So before I begin to say a few words, let me congratulate the Dravidian model of social justice for 5 specific reasons. One, that we have completed 100 years of self-respect movement. So what you thought 100 years ago, and that's the title of one of my piece in Forward Press. I would request Eli Kumar if can share that piece here. What Periyar thought 100 years ago, a century ago, the proportional representation, that is the need of the hour today. Second, that the Dravidian model of social justice. And it beautifully, naturally flows from the self-respect movement. Because until we have understood what self-respect is, there would be no talk of any reservation, any affirmative action, or we like people getting into the universities or into the power process, governing ourselves, meaning that the 3 point that we often talk about, uh, reservation or say redistribution or representation, because out of this, even after independence, despite lot of social justice, even during colonial times, how did it so happen that out of some 20-25 states that we have in federal system, more than 20 chief ministers were Brahmins? And what was their proportion? So it is extremely important that, the Dravidian model taught us this, that it is very few people, very minuscule number of Brahmins who have controlled our mindset and have enslaved us. And therefore, maybe Fule, one point of time, said that, we are suffering from internal colonialism. So obviously, the Britishers may go away, but the Brahmins or those who have colonized us are not going away. The third point I want to congratulate the Dravidian model is for, of course, the First Amendment, which of the Indian Constitution, which Periyar, himself led. Otherwise, Article 14 and 15 and, those sub-clauses, they would not have been, despite that we have had, Article 340, we could not think of, reservations for the backward classes. But it is Tamil Nadu which already had reservations for the backward classes even before we adopted the Indian Constitution through communal award. Next, and thanks to Veeramani sir especially, that in 1994, you could think of bringing this matter into ninth schedule so that it cannot be challenged in the courts. And last, that we also did not fall trap into this stupid 3-language formula, and you stick to the Tamil and English is the language which actually universalized. It is perhaps this region that, I often tell, my Tamilian friends that, I'm very unfortunate that I am born in Bihar that way, because, and I'm thankful, after thanking this Dravidian model, I'm thankful to my father that despite his very limited, earning, because he was a feeder, my family is basically a shepherd. But despite that, they could send me to a, English medium school, and it is perhaps that region that, I'm speaking to you in that universal language. Now, let me begin today's talk with what Veeramani sir said in 2016, a seminar on social justice called Challenges of Backward Classes in Bangalore. And I quote, he said, the monopoly of reservation is not the invention of the backward or depressed or downtrodden. It was started by Manu, a doyen of social injustice, by dividing the society into fourfold varnas in the Vedic and Brahmanic religion. Today, we might have been told several times that it is Hindutva unity, Hindu unity. We all are aware that until 1799, there is no word called Hindu. Any historian, can tell me that we have any word like Hindu. So it's not about historians like Romila Thapar. It is, universally, if you look at this fact, that it was a trap to make, because it was never a religion. It was about a geographical entity, and that is, that relates with Indus River. So we are all aware of, and I'm not going to, repetitively into time on that. But most importantly, as I said, that I wanted to speak a little on Bihar model of social justice. I somehow suspect, and I'm thankful to Karunanidhi sir, where he said, like, we also have to be critical to our own model. So Bihar could set, an example of, the question of representation, and that came primarily with Mandal and even before Mandal, but we couldn't think, and not enough has been researched. So unless a piece which in this book called the Rutledge Handbook of Other Backward Classes in India, this is perhaps the only book, in international publishing house on what we understand as OBCs today. And my essay, while I researched on this essay called Mandal Commission and Making of an OBC Identity, it is then that I realized that BP Mandal, who actually chaired the Second Backward Classes Commission, the very buzzword what we know as Mandal today, and Mandal Commission, the Backward Classes Commission is often called. It is his father, Ras Bihari Mandal, who actually initiated this social justice in Bihar by, organizing, mobilizing that important, Sudra OBC caste, I prefer calling, because in Brahminical pantheon, they actually are Sudras. A lot of people have problem with uses of this word called Sudra, but let us accept it. We have to call spade a spade. We are still Sudras, and that's what our religious text tells us. And that's how, the whole controversy after the Bihar minister Chandrasekhar said, what is written in Ramcharitmanas, and later Swami Prasad Maurya, and we have had enough debates. I myself was on several debates on, the question of how our text, which we are told to believe in, tells our position. And that's the Sudra, and therefore I call it, in a hyphenated term, Sudra OBC. Now, what did Ras Bihari Mandal and the others did then? They said that what is the distinction that you are not like us? Why are you pure and why are we impure? Is it just because of this stupid sacred thread? So we will also start wearing this sacred thread. So, and it is then that in the early 20th century, they founded a Sangathan or an organization that we may call of Triveni Sangh. That's an organization of three important dominant communities among Sudras: the Yadavs, the Koiris, and the Kurmis. And it is the so-called, not just economically, but so little more dominant. I am not borrowing, M.N. Srinivasa's term, but dominant in terms of claiming the rights of social justice. It is then that this in Bihar, and that's if I can make a parallel of self-respect movement, it was this in Bihar, what I call Triveni. But Bihar also witnessed its first Sudra OBC upsurge electorally in the general elections of 1967. So if I make a kind of parallel, 1971, even Karunanidhi ji, I'm talking about M. Karunanidhi ji, who became the chief minister in Bihar, but it was 1968 that VP Mandal became the chief minister of Bihar. So, 3 years before that. Who belonged to backward caste, as I said, as a chief minister of Bihar, who later went to head the second backward classes commission. So in 1977, when Janata Party government was there, he refused to become any minister. Rather, he chose. So that is the commitment of, the mandals that I'm saying. And he said no, because Janata Party had came on a promise that the moment we will form the government, we will form the second backward classes commission, because Kaka Kalelkar, we all are aware of, he himself was a Brahmin and he was heading the first backward classes commission. So that's the tragedy that we are aware of. Again, I shall not get into that old story, but we are aware that in after, because VP Mandal government was pulled down by the Congress MLAs, and later uh, it was Bhola Paswan Sastri who became the chief minister, and the pressure was so on that he was pressurized to make constitute Mungeri Lal Commission, and it was as a result of commission that recommended that later in 1977, when uh, uh, Karpuri Thakur became the chief minister, he implemented the first reservation formula in Bihar, except for Tamil Nadu, could be one of the first state, maybe next to Karnataka, that Karnataka also has this backward classes commission, but no other states could think of implementing reservation. Now, while we talk through the Mandal Commission, because he submitted his report to the then Indira Gandhi led government at the center in 1980, it looked destined for the fate of Kalelkar Commission reports. And we are aware that even though the report was submitted in 1980, it took another 10 years. And again, by an accident, a lot of people say, an author has written about Manmohan Singh, the accidental prime minister. In some sense, I feel that VP Singh was, the accidental prime minister who actually came with the social justice agenda. And Karunanidhi ji is aware that, we kind of celebrate his birthday despite that he did not belong to, backward classes, but he actually led something, while he was prime minister in 1990. This progressive move was vehemently opposed by the then principal opposition party, the Congress party, led by Rajiv Gandhi. The Mandal mobilization led to democratization of Indian polity, which drastically changed the demography of elected representatives in India in less than a decade. Such a democratic upsurge was not considered even worth writing about, because the university department across the country were still monopolized by academics belonging to only few privileged castes. So thankfully, we have had people like Christopher Jefferlo, who comes from France, who writes India's Silent Revolution, or we have American scholars like uh, uh, American scholar, I'm forgetting his name. Uh, it might come to my mind, who wrote on, who are the backward classes. Yes, now I'm reminded. Mark Galanter, that he wrote his first essay in Economic and Political Weekly explaining who are the backward classes. It is primarily the Sudras, and it is the lower Sudras who actually, became the Panchama or the fifth Varna, who became untouchable in historical juncture. But the churning in Bihar, as I was explaining, resulted in lives of Satish Prasad Singh, who became chief minister just for a day before BP Mandal, Bhola Paswan Sastri, Daroga Prasad Rai, Karpuri Thakur, Ram Sundar Das. So you see, the galaxy of the chief ministers, they all belong to either Dalit or OBC communities. Even later, say Lalu Prasad, Rabdi Devi, Nitish Kumar, Jitan Ram Manji, you name and you realize, and as I just said, like, the political, in terms of political representation, definitely Bihar has a role model of social justice. But this scenario, however, in Bihar's neighboring state, say West Bengal, is harshly different. So now you look at all the ministers West Bengal,
Yeah.
till Mamata Banerjee, Jyoti Basu, any chief minister that you name, they only came from three particular castes: Brahmins, Kaisthas, and Vaidyas. Now they all are Bhadralo, because that's a class which, even the communists for a long time kind of uh, blinded us with. Now, an interesting story that today, I wanting to about why Karpuri Thakur ji has been conferred the Bharat Ratna by the current government. So is it has some intellectual content, or is it again a ploy? I tried reading something, and it uh, appeared that what happened, that while in 1978 he's announced this reservation in his cabinet colleagues, the president of Janata Party was Chandrasekhar, who later became the prime minister also after VP Singh. We all are aware what caste he came from, Rajput, or Kshatriya. Now, there's another fellow. Many of you are aware of Prashant Bhushan, the Supreme Court advocate. Many of us might not be aware that his father was Shanti Bhushan. And he was, again, a Supreme Court lawyer, and he was the law minister in Janata Party government. Chandrasekhar sent Shanti Bhushan to uh, Karpuri Thakur and constituted a committee to look into how we can scuttle this reservations for the backward classes and can bring in some reservations for the upper caste or the Brahmins or the Savarnas in the name of what we have EWS, then the poors, the economically poor section. And it was suggested that can't we bring some percentage for the poor upper caste. Now Karpuri Thakur, because he was very strong socialist, he says no, this is not possible constitutionally. As per Indian constitution, we cannot give reservation to those who do not belong to scheduled tribes, those who do not belong to scheduled caste, or those who do not belong to other backward classes. Because by then things were settled again thanks to Periyar's first amendment to Indian Constitution. Now you see the cunningness of the so-called Savarnas. They said, then why can't we offer 3% reservation to women? Now they said, irrespective of caste. But it was automatically understood that the majority of the women of the upper caste Savarnas are educated. So the moment you will bring in reservation for women, it will automatically be cornered by the Savarna women. Similarly, it was suggested, why not 3% uh, uh, reservation for the economically weaker section then? Now, uh, this Shanti Bhushan, although I have not read his autobiography, but while researching, I got to know that he writes in his autobiography that he was the one who mediated for 3% of for the EWS then in the same category and 3% for the women, except for 20% for the backward and 8% for the extremely backward classes. Now I borrow from what Ilaya Kumar was just saying. It is again a paradox, because it the percentage of the backward classes is lesser than EBCs. It is the current chief minister who actually understood this, that they are far more bigger in number, close to 20%, and it is they who have voted for many years. But despite that, what is extremely important here to understand is that even if we have, say, leaders from backward community, how the so-called Savarnas mediate through our leaders to scuttle the agenda of social justice. So this I wanted to share. And in the last part, do I have 2-3 minutes?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So last, which is extremely important, and even if we get justice, there is one institution in this country which gets it delayed, and therefore maybe that sentence comes, that famous, uh, expression comes, justice delayed is justice denied. Now you see, we have had reservation for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes since 1950, as soon as we implemented the constitution. We have Mandal 1 since 1993. I'm deliberately not saying 90 because VP Singh implemented in 1990, but Supreme Court, the famous Indira Sahni judgment, because they challenged this, and finally since 1993 it was being implemented. So practically 93, 94, we can say, during Narasimha Rao's. 2006 came the Mandal 2, that reservation for the OBCs in educational institutions of higher learning, including IITs, IIMs, and other institutions. Now you see, one category of reservation is since 1950. Second category of reservation comes in 93 and 2006. And in all these categories, in university system, you have something called NFS, not found suitable. But what is very interesting is that another reservation came through backdoor, is called EWS, 10% quota. Now you do RTIs, you do a good research, and you will realize not a single person in EWS category is found, none found suitable. How does it happen? How does it happen unless it is being decided and being executed from the casteist mindset? So, with this, I end. And why I'm saying is this is because even a few days, but again, or few weeks back, Supreme Court came up with a judgment. People call it Honorable Supreme Court. I'm also can follow saying this, but we are aware that Supreme Court never asked for the empirical data in EWS, but the same Supreme Court asks for empirical data even while the OBC reservation is being implemented for conducting local elections, maybe in Madhya Pradesh, maybe in Maharashtra, so and so forth. With this, I end. Jai Bhim, Jai Savitri, Jai Periyar. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor, for your wonderful explanation of the various areas touching from social justice movement of 100 years, Periyar's vision for proportional representation, and about the Mandal Commission report, as well as about BP Mandal, and about Karpuri Thakur's formula adopted in Bihar, how it has worked, and finally you have come to how the present scenario, even despite implementation of reservation policy for about so many years, the candidates belonging to the reserved category are rejected on the wrong notion of not found suitable, comparing with the AWS, which is a fraud on the constitution, actually. So you have highlighted various areas. Because of the paucity of time, we have to restrict your speech. Otherwise, we would be too glad to have your speech exclusively on the subject for even 1 hour. So we will have some other time to have more space for speakers like you, so that the people will know how we have been trapped on various areas, and how our fight for social justice has to intensify in the coming days, how we have to be united. So these things will have to have a repeated discussion. And I once again thank you for your timely presence and your valuable address on the topics. Now we have with us the valedictory address by our great leader, the Dr. K.Veeramani, who is a towering intellectual, rationalist, social reformer, serving as the president of the Dravidian Kalaham, the pioneering social justice movement of India, founded by the great social revolutionary Tande Periyar. As Periyar's foremost disciple and ideological successor, Dr. Asirya Ayya has steadfastly carried forward the Dravidian legacy of rationalism, self-respect, social equality, and annihilation of caste. For several decades, our leader has been a fearless voice against caste oppression, religious superstition, communal politics, and social discrimination. Under his leadership, the Dravidar Kalaham, the Periyar movement, has remained uncompromising in its commitment to social justice, women's rights, scientific tempo, and constitutional values, especially the principles of liberty, equality, and fraternity. A prolific writer, editor, and speaker, our great leader Asiriyar has enriched Tamil intellectual life through his scholarly works and public interventions, using reason and evidence as tools for social transformation. His clarity of thought, moral courage, and unwavering dedication have made him one of the most respected social thinkers in contemporary India. Above all, our leader stands as a living bridge between Periyar's revolutionary vision and present-day struggles for social justice, ensuring that the Dravidian movement continues to inspire generations in the fight for dignity, equality, and human emancipation. With this introduction, let me invite our leader, Dr. Asiriyar K.Veeramani, sir, to share his valedictory address on this very important topic. Dr. Ayya, please.
Our most respected speakers on the dais, Dr. Arvind Kumar of Delhi and Madam K.Veeramani, Director Center for Women's Studies, Hyderabad, and Ilaya Kumar, Students Federation of Dravidians, and the organizer of this great historical epoch-making meeting, Mr. K.Veeramani, Secretary of External Affairs of Dravidar Kalaham, and other observers, and our fraternal, lovable fraternity. Vanakkam. Good evening to everybody. It is really a mind-boggling issue. Even after more than half a century, all our fights, in spite of all our fights, in spite of the legacy that was handed over by our pioneers, like Jyotiba Phule starting, Savitribai Phule, and Raghunath Raj, Tandai Periyar, Dr. Ambedkar, Narayana Guru, and so many fighters, leaders who were on the field to get our rights. It is our bounden duty to salute them all. Particularly, most of us must know more about Chhatrapati Sahu. A special salute is to be given to that great king, the fighter, pioneer of social justice, who was responsible for passing a great act. That one act in his Kolhapur state in 1902 for reserving 50% of the seats in education as well as the employment as the greatest forerunner of this social justice fight. And he implemented it boldly, very boldly. Because of that, he was very continuously given a very bad light through the media by all the Brahminical and upper caste. So let us all join the fight. But for him, even the great popularly known as Justice Party in Tamil Nadu, the South Indian Social Liberation Federation, very popularly known as Justice Party, was started because of his insistence with Dr. Nair, who was a very close friend, T.M. Nair, that you must continue this work in South India. Not only we must be confined to the Maratha area. This was great inspiration. But for his inspiration, this could not have been there. We are all must remember this, because history is not what it was, but it was what it should be according to the vested interest. That is why we are not able to remind, even though the earlier, who were the pioneers, because of the only the movement, the Justice Party movement was started in 1916. Earlier that, even before 1916, the demand of the Justice Party, what was that? Let us all think 1 minute. That was nothing but we want justice. That was the demand. Why the demand is there? Logically, the answer should be because there was injustice. Because of the injustice, we demand justice. That's all. So, first, injustice was done to many by a few. That is why there is a need, perpetual need for the fight for social justice. This was started not by those who was oppressed and depressed. This is a very peculiar thing by itself. Philosophically, if you analyze it, it was the oppressor who started the reservation, not the oppressed, as a way of life, as a way of relief. This is one of our very anachronistic approach. Fact. Because if you go through Manudharma Shastra, they were the pioneers of making a reservation of education and all the facilities reserved only for them. And they have divided by the principle of graded inequality. And because of that graded inequality, all those who are workers and sons of the soil, rulers of the water and dryers of the water and rulers of the wood, they were denied the Periyars. Not only they have reserved education and there the employment and good decent life, all these things for the upper caste, by the Brahmins and the Aryans, the upper caste man was created by God and all these things. So they threw all this burden. Still, the present day fight is also, in one phase, it is a social justice fight. How the social justice fight is perpetuated and taken even to the foreground is the Constitution of India versus Manudharma Shastra. Those who are responsible for this Constitution, Baba Sahib Ambedkar and others, in spite of the Brahminical war, they were able to do something to get some rights, but they were very clever enough to prohibit it by adopting one method, that is, these directive principles of the state policy. How a government, in a Republican democratic government, should make their policy. That was the lighthouse. But they faded it out very conveniently. That is not a justiciable right. First denial is there. Very crafty, cunning method of denying the social justice. Even in the Constitution itself, this needs a deep thinking and analysis and argument. But our people, who are the so-called educators, they never bother about this. Let us not divulge our time more in this. So the topic is what we got, the reservation, what we not. There is a Tamil proverb கற்றது கைமண்ணளவு, கல்லாதது உலகளவு. What we got is only a handful, but what we ought to get is more than like a whole world. So it is a very, very, very 0 point like that. So we will never rest our votes to fight for that. For that, let me illustrate what are three kinds of reservation that is more now. Three, if you want to analyze, I will say go to the subject. Three kinds. One is proportional representation. In a community which was divided and which was suppressed, depressed, and oppressed, and downtrodden, how to get relief from that? How to get equal opportunity and equality, all this, equality, empowerment. What is the reason? Reason we have got that because of this Varnashrama Dharma, because of the creation of caste, we are bound to seek the remedy for that. Because if there is an ill, we will have to go and seek the remedy. That is why we want. And when we arrange all this in the reservation, in some countries it is called affirmative action like USA. In other countries it is called reservation. And social justice is a very popular thing. But even that social justice, there are three kinds of justice, which was elaborated in our constitution by Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar, very rightly. We want to give justice. Give justice. What are the justices? Justice social, justice economic, and justice political. So, political and economic rights, they come under second priority, third priority. Unless you win social freedom, you that was the warning given by Ambedkar, by Tandai Periyar, and everybody, all those who are very straightforward and intellectually honest to achieve many things. That is why our dear brothers and sisters, we will have to see among the three things that we have just now pointed out. Three kinds. One is proportionate fight. So when we are aggrieved, when we have done injustice, to get out of that injustice, we demand justice. We then demand what are the way out. What we got is proportionate. There are three kinds: adequate representation according to prevailing government orders. But even earlier, just 50% of the backward classes declared by Sahu Maharaj was the earliest pilot. Then later on, the next thing, during the Justice Party government, which is the party was started 110 years old in the Madras presidency by our Raja Panaka. Even the reservation was given. He was attempted even when he got the power in 1920, which was very limited during the British period, as you all know that. So next point is that after they have passed an act, the trade, and are given by pressure to the then British government and getting permission from them, the Justice Party Chief Minister, then it was called Periyar, that Premier of Madras, the Dr. Raja Panakal Raja, who was a very able man who tried his level best to give this fund. First communal war 1921, but the bureaucrats who are nothing but Brahmins and upper caste people, they never allowed it to implement it. All kinds of measures were adopted not to implement and to delay it. That is why the first communal war was not implemented. In spite, it was a cabinet decision. You must know that. Another thing is second communal war, third communal war are only in 1928. That too by a government supported by the Justice Party because it didn't get absolute majority. That is why And Raja Panakal and all the Justice Party people, they were intellectually honest. They don't want to go and support government. They run the government. That is why they supported the independent ministry under Dr. Subbarayan, in which Muthaya Moliar was the one of the ministers. So when they were delaying and delaying, he was insisting. First, let me start from my own portfolio, my own department, like registration and all these things. That is how this gate was opened, 1928. And from 1928, when we want to expatiate on all these things, we can go to, for want of time, just I am taking you through a arithmetic view, that's all. And then what happened afterwards, 1928 to 1950, the Brahminical forces, this kind of implementation, and there it is more or less a proportionate reservation in this sense. They categorize and categorize even for upper caste Brahmins. They out of 12 they gave 2%. 2. If there are 12 posts, they will be given 2 posts. That was more than social justice for them. Because more than their population was only 3%. For the percent of 3% people, they were given this what means that is 16 times. But still they were not satisfied because they were the monopolists. They want to enjoy 100%. That was the reason that for the social justice fighting to continue. They were very coolly fighting here and there, sporadic battles. They were not able to do that because this feeling was cutting across political parties because of this Justice Party. Later started by self-respect movement by Periyar, and all these movement kept the fire alive. They cannot touch. That is why they were waiting for a very wonderful opportunity. That is, when the constitution was made by 4 Brahmins majority out of the 6 drafting committee, where Baba Saheb Ambedkar and Muhammad Salawar were there. But in spite of it, he was fighting and doing many things. And even though, as in his own language, he was used as an act by the committee, he was able to achieve something. And to that extent, they are not tolerating. Only 100% Mandharma Shastra should be replaced by this one. So I don't want to digress it. Let us come to the subject. So they want to declare that the constitution that according to this constitution, the communal Jew of Madras government, the passed in 1928, is an ultra vires of the constitution. And that too by a maneuver. How? Because they wanted to seek a remedy under the provisions of this constitution. They went to the High Court, filed a writ petition. The person who was the drafting committee member, Allah Kishan himself, without caring for his position or honor, dignity, and all these things, he appeared before the High Court as a lawyer to declare null and void the communal divorce. The writ was filed by whom? One Chambagam Rajan. Who was the Chambagam Rajan? A Brahmin lady. What was her right? The principle of it is where there is a legal right, there is a legal remedy. But whether she has got the legal right, that is the question. Why? She didn't apply for the seat of medical college at all. She has given a false affidavit to the court. Perjury, action will have to be taken against her. But the bureaucrats suppressed all these things. They were very conveniently. They raised later on in the Supreme Court appeal. But Supreme Court said no, because that was also there. So what happened, when they struck down, because of the great agitation by the people, by appealing to the people, by educating the people, this matter was street from the two streets. Periyar was one who started it. Out of that, the then Democrat, Prime Minister Nehru, in spite of his personal views were very different about the reservation, he just declared, Baba Sahib Ambedkar also the law minister then. That is a good opportunity. So they amended the constitution first, as you all know. The first amendment, and they inserted for the backward class 15.4, that is, the socially and educationally depressed people should also be given reservation. So they one step further opened another thing which was closed by the court, then reopened by that to a small extent. But later on, what happened is a very, very interesting development. Even after this one, the socially and educationally, how it was the backward classes are decided. But earlier, that was only for employment reservation, no reservation for education, that was given. After that, this was given. To some extent, we were able to get the reservation. So this was not a proportional representation. This was a representation in spite of the article says adequate representation for second category and third category, more or less, is adequate. That was not an adequate representation in the real sense of the term. But anyhow, there was an opening, and that is why some reservations were able to do that. First victory battle we have won. The next one is that we will have to see one. And there was no reservation. It is only for the state government, not for the central government, not for the union government. But all the government means both, including municipal area. That is according to the constitution. And all these things. So there was no zero. So very few seats were available. And that too, they were discussing. And the backward classes must be reviewed, the position must be reviewed, and the remedy must be sought. This was the direction under 340 of Article of Constitution of India. We have gone through the right path, very legally and constitutionally. That is more important. Still, we were denied our rights. That is a great bunkum. That's a great social injustice that we are facing. And still, that is why the fight is going on. So the judiciary, what happened? They gave a different interpretation. So, in spite of 340, in spite of all these things, it was only applicable to the state. Why they should give a narrow meaning to the state? In spite of the Article 12, which state means municipality, starting from municipality to the union government. But there was no reservation for the central government for the backward class, but only for scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. We are not denying their rights. They must be given first prayer. That is our, that is social justice. But why should they, majority people, the backward classes, more than 50 to 60%, they were not given their rights. They were denied the opportunities. That is why once again we started fighting for government. So it started the soil of but some other Maratha, the politics was continue. The and all this continue because of the fight. We are able to get Mandal. Whether all the recommendations of the Mandal Commission was there, we accorded a reception at Periyar. But Mandal said, look here, we could give, our commission could give the report only, but implementing part is not ours. You people, you Periyarists, you must show the way because it was Periyar who was responsible for the First Amendment. That India should say definitely will go because what the fate that embraced in Kaka Kalerka Commission, the first backward classes commission, should not be the same fate that must occur to this kind of Mandal Commission. But the vested interests, particularly the monopolies, social monopolies, the Brahmins and the upper caste people, they don't want all of it particularly because they have got the media power. Through that media power, they were able to give all sorts of tarnish. No, it is a casteist approach. The whole world, the heaven will fall, the sky will fall, everything will fall if they implemented. This was a human crime. But we were very continuously taking up it. It is our right. And we are not critical. In this, so it is not a concession, it is our right. For you, for the youngsters, public memory is very short. Let me remind one thing. The discussion was going on. It was initiated by our Ramadas Paswan, a great social justice fighter, was very close to us, and our association with him was responsible for making us one of the great heroes of social justice. And he opened, when Indira Gandhi was the Prime Minister, the Parliament. Midnight, 12 o'clock, the Mandal discussion, the report on Mandal Commission came on. And ultimately, even from the Congress members, D.P. Yadav, Chandrajit Yadav, and many people, they collected signatures to implement the Mandal Commission. Not only to implement Mandal Commission, the very, very shocking news was the demand. What was the demand of DK, which convened 46 conferences throughout India? In the very southern end of Gurdaspur, which is near to Pakistan border, and in here, all the places in south, north, everywhere, all these directions, we have shaped the public minds, and 16 agitations were taken place in many places. Ultimately, the understanding became, the government came more than 10 years, and you know that, as very rightly pointed out by our friends earlier as speakers, and particularly Mr. Karnanadi, the one tactics that adopted by the upper caste Brahminical forces to stall the recommendation from implementation is delay it. That's all. If you cannot stop it, if you cannot prevent it, kindly delay it. That is only method of their maneuvers. That's all. And they delay it. As the proverb and adage goes, you all know that justice denied is justice, delayed, justice denied. That is why they want to deny the justice by delaying it when they are not able to stop it. Please understand this methodology very well. So they, after 10 years only, they were giving, and the great social failure of social justice, which we must ever be deep sense of gratitude, we will have to appreciate and applaud our VP Singh ji. But for VP Singh as a Prime Minister, who just sacrificed his Prime Ministership, and he was very bold enough to declare, I am prepared to lose any number of Prime Ministership for the good cause of this great social justice, because the Mandal winds will change the transfer of the society. That was the beautiful words. But the implementation part was delayed. Even after he passed and all these things, there was 9 judges bench and all these things, so many things. And that too, you see here, that is only part of it. What not, you must remember. I am coming to that aspect. What we got is only a part just by way because there was no opening at all. Then they branded UPC as a casteist, as if this is only responsible for raising caste, as if they are all cosmopolitan people, they are all very wide-minded, open-minded, as if they branded themselves. So what happened? They want to put everything into a very confused way. That is why the media power, muscle power was there, money power was there, used against all these things. But yet he stood firm as a rock and he never bothers about that. But for him, this happened. What for? Only for part of it, not the whole recommendation. Kindly, the younger generation, the present generation, people is what the important factor. Yeah, that recommendation was only made by the unemployment. Let us start, let us open, let us open the account in a small way. Because of the opposition, there was no awareness, social awareness, in spite of people that we, the backward classes, are more than that. Even for your information, very recommendation of our mandal, how we have been avenged. This must understand. What was the report of the Mandal Commission? Let us understand. Once again, you will have to go to remain and remind and revisit all these things. The recommendation, according to the Mandal Commission, is 52%. What was the recommendation of the Mandal Commission? 52%. Because of the population. Then now it may exceed that one. But out of 52%, what was the recommendation? Total first recommendation is proportionately the 52% must get. Because already proportionate principle was accepted by the scheduled caste, by the constitution, by 22.7 for STs and 7.5 for the STs. So all put together 23%. All put together 49%. All 23, and that is why put together 1 minute, please. 22.35. So this 23, 22 becomes ST, 22.5, roundly 23. So already the judiciary has put an embargo which is not found in the constitution. There was no stipulation. There was no ceiling for the percentage in the constitution. It was the judiciary that put through one Balaji versus stated that no 15% ceiling must be there. Who created? Even what is the judgments, separate judgment, given by a great learned legal luminary, our Supreme Court judge, Justice Dr. Pandya, pointed out very good. This is only an omitted dicta. This has nothing to do with this one. In spite of, because of the media power, because of the power, they want to traverse, they want to discuss and transgress all this preparation in spite of the constitution. That is the believers after believers going on doing all these things. But anyhow, Mandal was very kind enough. You see here, anyhow, the person, the downtrodden, in the graded inequality, SC and ST people are the downwards. They got what they right. So we don't want to reduce it, we don't want to clash with that. That is why, even though our reservation recommendation was 52% proportionately, we won't advise us to have reserved 52% for that. So minus first priority goes to SC and ST. That 50 ceiling, let us assume for the present time. And out of 50, you minus 23 is equal to 27. This is how the bundle recommendation 27 was arrived at. Everybody must understand this one. First priority goes to our most depressed and the downtrodden people. Then to the oppressed people. Like that, they have done it. This is the real right approach for any social justice person. But even then 27, whether we were able to get it, that was the more question. We are not. Not. That is the caption of this meeting. You are not given, even by answering, getting information from the government of India. Some 10 years back we got the information. See, only so far there are many categories. 11% only that was filtered. All out of 11, that means another 16% were given to the open quota, which means nothing but upper caste, upper community. Even they distorted and they given a different meaning by open competition. But they diverted it. And other doing it, they have adopted one thing. They have adopted another maneuver, another by a crafty approach. We were completely doing injustice. The law, even the Union Public Service Commission and others, they adopted one crooked method. That's all. First, the open competition, and that you deduct classes from the this year category as secured enough in the open competition. The open competition, the general category should compete. That is called an open competition under merit system. This is how they have interpreted. In that case, when they started very cunningly, deduct some seats, 27%. We are very happy to, I would like to point out, and now our continuously we were opposing it. Now only the Supreme Court has given a very rightful judgment recently that open competition, the quota, people who are selected should not be by a part of this 127. That is different. 27 must be given. Even to understand this kind of, you need the spectacle of Periyar to say that is more important. That is why they were denying. They don't want a imperfect implement. They want to take it from the more or less. That is why we have to go a very long way, miles to go. That one. Eternal vigilance is very, very important for all this. Another thing is to, for what of time I will cut short, and I will tell you many things. See, what are the recommendations? How far the recommendation? Even the other education. Only if you get educated, then we will get employment. But since unemployment due to employment, very complacently they taken first priority, is given. Then we were continually taking up the cudgel and fighting in the fields and agitating, and it yielded. And 2005 or something, the 93rd amendment was there. Thereby, even the central government institutions, we were able to get reservation in education. So reservation in employment was done in 1993. Later on, you see here, until then, the appointments, the admission are only for upper caste. You see how they were able to do that. This was not at all explained. So many even educated people who are not bothered about this one. The IITs, why there is a Brahminical upper caste support, and all the central universities, no reservation for admission like this one. In the education, only state government, only other thing. Then we fought and got the 93rd Amendment. So, my dear brothers and sisters, because of Tamil Nadu fight, because of our Dravida Kazhagam fight, because of our all allied with all the cooperation of all the like-minded people and institutions, we have completely appealed, and thereby we are able to get this kind of now only after 7 years and 12 years, no reservation in education. Delayed justice, justice delayed is justice denied. Once again, you come to that point. So they want to postpone it, that's all. They want to grab it. Where that goes, the recommendation, to put it very shortly and very clearly, the recommendation of our, what is the recommendation? Whether we have applied for all these recommendations is one thing is that the general recommendations regarding the quantum of reservation, all this was done. What the general recommendation? Candidates belonging to OBCs resulted on the basis of merit is an open competition, should not be adjusted against all the reservations. This was already I explained it. This was injustice was done. We were fighting, and at long last, we were able to achieve that. The above reservation should also be made applicable to promotion quota. How far that promotion quota was being implemented, observed. It is more where conspicuous by its absence. That's all. More in not implementing that was done. So we will have to fight that one. Reserved quota remaining unfulfilled and should be carried forward for a period of 3 years and de-reserved thereafter. Whether this is done, whether still this is not done. If there are no available meritorious candidate, what is meant is differently to we will have to discuss it later on. So they want to put landmines. When we are going on, when we are able to go on, there are landmines. That the landmines. When we are suddenly they want to explode. That is why this method of putting all these they are not observed. More in breach they observe. That's all. This is only no forward taking reservation carry forward. All the seats, vacancy, whom we are enjoying only to the yesterday to the upper caste people. That is a very another cunning way of doing things. This is another method. And relaxation of upper caste, age and all these things. They are not systematically doing that. You please go through the 58th page of Mandal Commission first part and all these relaxation. The roster system should be adopted as it is adopted by for the SC/ST candidates. The same must be adopted by the OBC. How far it is implemented? Then there is a very emphatic no. That is the only answer. So all these things. And another great shocking injustice that was done is convert the private sector. There was no reservation for private sector. When we were demanding reservation in the private sector also, the then government and present government, everything very still for they are adopting another cunning method. What is that method is convert the public institution, public sector and joint sector, eliminate it and make it to the private sector. That is a long time game that is going on. The banks, initially, they were nationalized banks. Only upper caste is in there. Only after fighting the Mandal Commission implementation, some extent we are able to get into the banks. Now, if they want to denationalize, what will be the effect? Not only other factors, more than that, first casualty is reservation and social justice. The first casualty, when we want to reserve from public sector, that is why the demand was get reservation in private sector also. Now with this government, which wants the Manu Dharma alone as the constitution of the Bharat, it was in the Hindu Rashtra, they were very particular. They not even started one public sector undertaking. They want to convert everything, like all the airports, all the flights, all the sectors to Ambani's, Adani's, and all these things. That too selectively in the public sector, not only private sector, being public sector has been transferred and converted to private sector and thereby put an end to reservation. They want to be very selectively giving to some people. So this kind of going on. So let me please understand what we got is very, very meager. Our fight is still to be a lot, and we will have to carry forward to our fight. It must be more intensified. That is our demand. So let us not be in slumbers. Let us get awakened. That is more important. And period in season and out of season, more injustice was done. The glaring one, which you will have to bring into this honest audience, is the EWS. The EWS, economically weaker section. They have distorted Article 46 in their area. The economically weaker section does not mean upper caste people. But they have done completely a different meaning because interpretation. Because judiciary is in the hands of the upper caste people. There was no social justice point. Only very recently, our principal they said the collegium method, the collegium are doing all these things. So eternal vigilance we will have to keep and watch and fight for our rights. That is our demand. That is our request for all those people who are aggrieved from ages onwards. That is why we will have to do. Why there should be economically weaker section people. When we want 69%, when we are adopting the cash-based census and all these things, the judiciary people who are sitting on there, they ask one question incessantly, continually, where is the quantum? Quantum. I have taken census. I have taken how the percentage was that. That is the question they are always ready to fire. Whether that question was taken with EWS, whether that was done, and whether the Balaji case was honored by up to 10%, no 15%. How the Balaji case was, they themselves, if they want, they will break it. If they want, they will make it quick or quick fix it up, and all the quick fix they have got. All this kind of bunkum, great bunkum. They want to deceive the people. It is nothing but atrocious approach against social justice. That is why EWS, 8 lakhs. Even the creamy layer limit is very different from that one. Income tax level. And recently, it is a very shameful to hear that news. 1.5 crores were given by some of the EW people to get the super specialty seats that have appeared in the press. So, my dear brothers and sisters, our blood boils, but our blood has already been spoiled by all those things, which is nothing but they don't want to see all this. Only people like us, who was on the war field always. The military people, what is there? They don't want to rule the country, but they want to save the country, safeguard our rights. That is why we are doing it. And lost many things because for want of time. I will conclude by that. At times they will use it merit and efficiency, that is one thing. Another thing is, even the judges who are sitting there, they interpret and misinterpret the constitution. No, the reservation time is over. Earlier, Ambedkar gave only for 10 years. Then that 10 years, many 10 years, 50, more than 50 years, they have done it. Oh, without knowing anything at all, even our own people, our own kids and them, who are not understand, they don't know ABC of reservation. They were the beneficiary of the reservation. But for the reservation, they would not know what they were sitting on these chairs and putting on the pants, putting on enjoying the many fouls and all these things. But they don't forget about, they don't remember. They don't bother about the posterity and future generations. But we are bothered about our legacy. As legacies, it is our bounden duty to keep our earnings from our people, leaders who fought and got what we are, what we have, even the legal area. So we will have to unlearn. First, we will have to safeguard it. Then we will have to unlearn. That is more important. That is what we are doing. See, that is political reservations. There are many patterns, even in the constitution. The 10-year reservation is meant for only as a political reservation. The reservation, there are different kinds of reservations there. One is political reservation, that is the legislature and all this. But for educational employment, there was no time ceiling at all. When somebody asked, we answered, that's all. How long you want to leave? For more than 60 years, you want to protect yourself under the umbrella of reservation. What was the age of injustice? What was the age of Manu? It is 5,000 years, 3,000 years. Can you do a miracle within 100 years? That was our answer. Can you answer it? No, you are not able to answer it. That is why there are all sorts of power, by media power, by money power, muscle power, and through a very systematic disinformation campaign. They are doing a disinformation. Oh, what kind of this one, the reservation thing. And when we people go into and sit, as an IAS officer, oh, you come under the reservation. You come under this one. As a reservation, as see, you and upper caste, both are on mark. That is a question of merit. And another thing is reservation must be proportionate. That is why simple principle of social justice must be elaborated and changed. Everything to everybody. That is, give them what is due. Education, equal opportunity. Then afterwards, empowerment. Then only three is education, employment, equal opportunities, and empowerment. All these must be done for this eternal vigilance. So we will have to go a very long way. What we got, we will have to preserve and safeguard. What we are not, we will have to fight and back. We have won many battles. We have won the war. Let us all be vigilant. The eternal vigilance is the price for our not only liberty, but also right. Thank you very much. Oh.
Sir, kindly unmute yourself, sir.
I thank our respected leader, Asirayya, for his detailed and elaborate description of the social justice movement starting from Pule, Sahu Maharaj, Justice Party, and the Periyar self-respect movement, the first constitutional amendment, and about the Mandal Commission, his role and its implementation, and the steadfast efforts taken by the Dravidar Kalagham under its leadership, and how this mechanism is working now, the flaws in the system, and how that even after so many years, the representation of the reserved groups has not even reached adequately, even though we demanded for proportional representation. So he has given an elaborate picture, and he has touched for, and his call for reservation in private sector has been taken seriously by all of us. And what we have achieved so far is only a political democracy, but social and economic democracy remains unfulfilled. Rights exist on paper only, and dignity is denied in daily life. Social justice has been treated as a concession, not as a constitutional right. So what lies ahead is that we need a caste census, a strong public education system, ensuring that education is given to everyone, and the expansion of the reservation policy where our public resources are used, protection of the federalism and economic redistribution. Above all, we need to revive the rationalist, anti-caste spirit that questions authority, superstition, and inequality. Friends, social justice is not about the past, it is about the future we dare to build. What we got has given us some hope, but what we did not get gives us the responsibility. The struggle continues from representation to redistribution, from equality before law to equality in life. I thank our guest speakers, Professor Dr. Arvind Kumar, Sister Kyle, and my brother Ilay Kumar for joining in this session, and our participants, including our Kavinger Pungundran, Deputy President of the Dravidar Kalagham, Dr. Devadas, Member of the Social Justice Monitoring Committee, Anand Bhaskar Rapolo, former Member of Parliament, and our Federation OBC leaders, Mr. Chinnaya, B.D.K. Chari, Rajasekaran, Yarmin, Nadrajan, Ravindra Ram, Birj Mohan Kumar, Pandu, and also other friends for joining this webinar. I thank Mr. Prince for coordinating in giving this Zoom link and making all efforts with the help of Udumalai. And I thank once and all for all of you for joining this wonderful seminar, which is a webinar, and on a very important and relevant subject, social justice, what we got and what we not. Finally, once again thank Asiriya. I think with this we can conclude our today's session. We will be glad to meet all of you in coming another session on a very important topic. Thank you all. Vanakkam.
Thank you.